for fall 2023. Our weekly interactive math reviews for Math 1314 and Math 1324, presented by Yvette Chuca, Ruben Carizales, and Albert Isasi. Our session will be starting soon. This session will be recorded so that you may come back to it later if you need, and so others who may have missed out on today's events will be able to come and watch it. Thank you. So now, at this time, please mute your mics for the best sound experience. Otherwise, the feedback could interfere with information we will be sharing. We'll be sending individual messages to everyone to gather your student ID numbers to sign you in. Without further ado, I'll pass it on to our presenter so that we may begin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday Happy Math Hour. We're excited that you can join us and that we can host these sessions for you. So every week we're going to hold these sessions. We base them off of the calendar for both Math 1314 and Math 1324. And so this week we're going to talk about how to access Webassign and MyMathLab, and then we're going to jump in to some examples for equations and writing equations, or graphing and writing equations. At any time, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand and we'll call on you. And so here we go. So if you're taking any of these classes, then you are in the right place. This is Math 1314 or 1324, or maybe you're taking the NCBM classes. And so for some of you, you might get extra points for, for some of you, tutoring is part of your grade. And so in a little bit, some of our awesome staff members are going to ask for your ID, and that is to report to your instructor that you were here so you can get your credit for tutoring. So we'll start off with Webassign. So to access Webassign, or just really quick before I continue, if you need to make the screen a little bit bigger, right here where I'm pointing the blue arrow, you can zoom into the presentation. And on the left side, on the right side, you'll see a square with the arrow pointing down. That is so that if you want to, you can download the presentation as well. Okay, so to sign up for Webassign, there's really two ways that it could happen, depending on how your instructor has set it up. And so one of the ways is to click on Enter Class Key. When you click on that, that class key is provided to you by your instructor. And so you would go ahead and enter, you're going to register. And so you're going to need this class key that looks like this. Now, some instructors, like myself, we link our course through Blackboard. And if that's the case, you're not going to be given a class key. All you have to do is follow the instructions that are in Blackboard for you to sign up for Webassign. So it depends on how your instructor has set up the course. Once you register, then you will be, once you register, it's going to send you an email to your account where you have to verify your account. And the reason is because with your tuition, you have already paid for your textbook and your Webassign course. So here you would click on courses so that you can access your course. You can ignore this purchase access code because you won't have to do that since you already paid for your textbook and your Webassign course. Once you're in your course, you can click here in where your name is, and you can change your password, or you can add another email. This one's going to give you, if you're taking other Cengage courses, they're all going to be listed under here. For sure, your math class will be listed here. And if you feel like you need an actual hardcover textbook, you can rent one by clicking on this option. But the course itself does provide you an ebook. When you're in the math course, on the top right, if you would like, you can change your language to Spanish. And what that does, it changes all the instructions to Spanish. So if you can see here, the main tabs are changed to Spanish. If you click on the little folder here, the little email sign, you can turn it on for notifications. For example, if you want to know when your instructor makes a due date change, you just highlight any of these that you would like, and then it can also send you reminders. You're going to be able to get access to an ebook. So here would be your ebook. You can print out some pages at a time. And so if you want to have the pages printed out, you can print out, I think it's like 10 at a time. Inside of the ebook, you can also find videos inside of the book, or you can also find these links to calchat.com and calview.com. These websites here just provide more examples, more videos, more worked out problems for you. Under communication, if your instructor has enabled these options, you will see them. You can send out emails in here, and your instructor can get them here as well. To see your grade, you would click on grades, and you'll be able to click on the actual number to see a breakdown of how it's being calculated. And then, of course, the last tab is your assignments. So let's look at the assignments. We'll look at the assignments a little bit closer in a little bit. So here you have something called Class Insights. This is in case you want to practice more problems, you can do that. If your instructor put announcements, you'll see them on the right side. And let's go to the next page. Your homeworks are usually listed on the left side, and you'll see these little icons, which I'll tell you what those are in a second. And then you should have a tab called Resources. So under Resources, if your instructor has made these available, you should see some more videos and PowerPoints. If you don't see them here, you can ask your instructor and maybe they will open them up for you. There is a study plan that you can also use to kind of just practice some more. And then for the actual assignments, you're going to see some of these icons. And so this icon just means that you can access this assignment until you get a certain grade. So until you get a 80%, or it could have a different condition. If you see the little computer here, that means that the assignment is password protected. And if you see the little timer, that means that the assignment is timed, and it'll tell you how many minutes. And if you see this sign here, that is asking for a lockdown browser. So this lockdown browser is different than the lockdown browser in Blackboard. So you want to make sure that you download the lockdown browser for Webassign. Okay, so it's important that you try to make sure that you have this lockdown browser, because without it, you won't be able to take your exams, for example. Inside of the actual questions, you do have some tools. You can click on the Read It, and that's going to be the Read It's going to open the ebook, and then some of the problems will have a Watch It, and that means that you can watch a video of this type of problem. And then other buttons that you might see is like a practice, a similar assignment, and that would come out here as well. So for MyMathLab, what you want to do to register for MyMathLab, so this is for any students taking 1324 or 0324, you will click on Student. So first, you will click on Student, and then you're going to need three things. You're going to need a course ID that's going to be given to you by your instructor, and that course ID is usually your instructor's last name followed by 5-digit number. You're going to have to use an email. An EPCC email is recommended, and then you're going to need an access code, which you can either buy with a credit card or PayPal, or you can buy it at the bookstore. And so once you have those three things, then you're going to click on register. It's going if you already have an account, you can just sign in. If you don't have an account, then you would create one. And so these are the three things. You could either buy an 18-week access code, which is going to be good for the semester, or if you're taking the second part of the course, then you can also buy a 24-month access code. If you don't have the access code yet or aren't able to pay for it immediately with your credit card, go ahead and click on the temporary access, and you'll have 14 days before it turns off. Okay, so it's better to use the temporary access. That way um, you don't fall behind. Once you're done with that, it's going to confirm your course. It's going to say that this is the course and it's taught by this person. And then you can click on go to my course. And you click the box here, it's going to take you into your course. Once you're in your course, it does have a calendar here with some icons that you can look at. The circles mean homework, the squares mean a quiz, and then you have an announcement tab. The courses, most of the courses, there's a couple that might not have the multimedia library. But if you click on this, it's going to give you resources. You can look up PowerPoints, you can look up videos, you can look up for basically any interactive figures. So these are just a lot of resources to help you. It also has a study plan. This is if you want to just practice similar problems, you can do that here. Here's your e-text. I didn't highlight it, but here's your textbook. And then it also has accessible resources. In case you need those, you can go through these here. It has a tab for skills for success, which gives you videos on mindset. It also gives you videos on college success. And it also gives you on professional tools. It can help you with interview questions. The college success one gives you videos on time management, stress management, and so on. So these are just tools to help you. In the tools for success, they also give you, for example, how to use your calculator, manuals that you can use, how to use Excel, and so on. And then finally, inside of the actual homework, you're going to have some tools here. So here is your accessibility if you need an on-screen keyboard. If you need help with the question, your instructor might have included these for you. Some instructors will remove these, but for the most part, they leave them there. So this is a help me solve this. This is going to walk you through this example here, and it's going to count it wrong, but then it gives you one that you can try. View an example is another way of seeing the problem, just with different numbers. You can ask your instructor for help, and it'll take a screenshot of this, and it'll send it to your instructor. And so if you notice here, I mentioned earlier, if you use the help me solve this, it's going to count it wrong. It's going to help you solve the problem, but then it'll give you a new problem that you can do for credit. It has videos for you that you can look at in case you need help. And then this is just from the ebook. And that's basically a little glimpse on how Webassign and MyMathLab work. So now we're going to get into the actual mathematics, right? So for both 1314 and 1324, graphing plays a big role. And so I believe Mr. Garizales is going to help us with the.
Yes, welcome all. Again, thank you for joining us this Friday. So let's go ahead and review some of these graphing equations and techniques. So first, let's look at plotting equations with a point-by-point plotting method. Okay, so if we want to graph this equation, y is equal to negative 2x plus 5. What we want to do is we want to create a table. Okay, so more than likely, if you're doing this on the computer, the x values are given to you randomly, or if they're not given to you, you can select any x values that you want. But in this case, in order for us to have a nice graph, we like to have a variety of numbers, and we like to look at numbers both to the left and to the right of 0. So the ones that we're going to do and use are -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And again, these are going to be my values for x. So in order for us to get the y values, we're going to plug these everywhere we see x on our equation. So let's go ahead and get started. So we'll do the first one. Y equals -2, and then again we're going to plug in a -2 in here, plus 5. So a -2 times a -2, that will give us a +4. So 4 plus 5 equals 9. So our y value for when x is -2 is 9. So if we put that as an ordered pair, our ordered pair is going to be -2, 9. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the rest. We'll do -1. When we plug in -1 for x, we're going to get a um, y equals 7. Okay, so again, a -2 times a -1 will give me a +2. 2 plus 5 is 7. So y is 7. So our ordered pair is -1, +7. Then let's go ahead and try 0. So we have a -2 times 0 plus 5. -2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 5 is 5. So our y value is 5. Our ordered pair is 0, 5. Let's go ahead and use 1 and the last two. Okay, so when I plug in 1 for x, I get a y value of 3. When I plug in 2 for x, I'm going to get a y value of 1. So as you can see here, we have several points that we can plot now on our rectangular coordinate system. So again, this solid black line is my x-axis. This solid vertical line is my y-axis. So as I'm plotting my points, again, -2, 9. The first one, it would be 2 units to the left of 0, 9 units up, and there's my point. And then I go on with the rest of my points. Okay, the -1, 7. Again, would be 1 point to the left of 0 and 7 points up. For the 0, 5, there's no movements either left or right, so I just because that's 0, so I just have 5 units up. And then 1, 3, 1 unit to the left, excuse me, 1 unit to the right, 3 units up. And then the 2, 1, 2 units to the right, 1 unit up. And then all we need to do is we connect all those points to go ahead and graph what we have as a line here. Okay, so this is what we use. It's called the point plotting method. We select random points for x, we get our y values associated to those, and we plot and graph. Okay, so these would be our solutions for our graph. Okay, so let's go ahead and do another example. We have this equation, y is equal to 5 minus x squared. So again, we will do the same thing. We'll create a table and we'll use the same x values, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And we're going to just do the same thing as we did before. We're going to place them everywhere we see x so we can get our y. So when we plug in -2 for x on this one, a -2 squared is a -2 times a -2. That will give me a +4. So then we have 5 minus 4 will give us 1. So our y value is 1. So our ordered pair is -2, 1. And then we'll do the same thing for the rest of our points. Okay, when x is equal to -1, my y value is 4. So my ordered pair is -1, 4. I'll plug in x for 0. When I plug in x for 0, I get a y value of 5. So my ordered pair is 0, 5. When I plug in x for 1, I get a y equals 4. So my ordered pair is 1, 4. When I plug in 2 for x, my y value is 1, so my ordered pair is 2, 1. So I'm going to do the same thing again for plotting on my rectangular coordinate system. Okay, I'm going to plug these points. The -2, 1, again, it's 2 units to the left of 0, 1 unit up. For my -1, 4 is 1 unit to the left of 0, 4 units up. Just 5 units up on the y-axis for the 0, 5. 1 unit to the right of 0 and 4 units up for my 1, 4. 2 units to the right of 0 and 1 unit up for my 2, 1. And again, these are a few points, but what we want to do is we want to try to do a smooth curve as possible. Again, we're doing a little cheating here because the computer is graphing our points together, so we have this smooth curved line. But if you were doing this on paper, again, we try try to connect these dots with a smooth curve or line as possible. And this would be our solution. As you see, this one is not a line, and we'll deal with this type of graph later on. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and use another method to graph, and this one's called the X and Y intercept method. So intercept means where it's crossing either my x-axis or my y-axis. So in order to do that, there's a simple process. To find our y-intercept, we're going to set x equal to 0, as you can see here. And to find our x-intercept, we set y equal to 0, and then we solve for the missing variable. Okay, so for instance, in this case, when x is equal to 0, here -2 times, oh, this is just an example. This is not belongs to this one. So let's go ahead and do the one that we have here. So this is everything that I just said right now in order for us to find our x-intercepts. So let's go ahead and do it for our problem. So here we are going to let y equals to 0 to solve for x, to solve for our x-intercept. So we replace y with 0, and then we're going to solve. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to subtract 5 on both sides. So 0 minus 5 is just minus 5, leaving us with -5 is equal to -2x. Then we're going to divide by a -2 on both sides. And when we do that, we're going to have, first originally we had a -5 divided by a -2, but a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Will leave us with just the 5/2. So x is equal to 5/2, and again, we had set y equals to 0. Now to get our y-intercept, we're going to do the same thing, except that we're just going to replace x with 0. So when we see 0, when we see x, we're going to plug in the 0. So we have a -2 times 0, that's 0, and 0 plus 5 is just 5. So our ordered pair is 0, 5. So this is going to be our y-intercept. So once we have these points, we can go back to our rectangular coordinate system and plug these 2 points in. The 0, 5 is my y-intercept. It's where it's crossing the y-axis. The 2.50 is the point where it's crossing my x-axis, the x-intercept. And then we just connect those 2 points and we get our line. So this is another method to graph our equations. Again, it's called using our x and y intercept method. Okay, so there's several forms of a line, or writing equations of a line. So the first one here is called the general form. Again, here our variables, the values that are going to constantly change are the x and y. These are our variables. A, B, and C here are constants. Okay, these are fixed values. This is what makes our equation the equation, whether it's a line or whether it's anything else. Okay. So the second form is called the form. And the reason why it has this name is because if you ever want to find an equation that that you have the slope and you want it to go through a particular point, you would use this one. The x1, y1 is the point that the equation or the line is going through. And m is your slope. Again, the x and y are your variables. Then the last one, which is the most famous one, I think, and it's the one that we love to use a lot because it's the one that lets us graph even easier or present us another method of graphing. This one's called the y-intercept form, which is given in this format. Y is equal to mx plus b. And again, because this one's the most famous or most popular one, let's look at a little bit more details as far as what these letters mean, right? So again, your y and x will still be your variables, but the m, just like before, and I mentioned it, is referred to our slope, how if it has a slant, right? That's what our slope is. It has a gradient. And then B is what's considered our y-intercept. It's where it crosses the y-axis. So this is the information that this equation gives us, these both two things. And again, I'll show you an example on how we can use this to graph. Okay. Now, let me see if I have it on here, but I don't have it on here. Before I move on, we do have an equation for slope. So slope, if we're giving 2 points, for instance, point 1 and point 2, slope is given by an equation the difference in rise over the difference in a horizontal shift, right? So it would be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'll go ahead and write it out when we do an example. So let's go ahead and see the example here. So write the equation of a line with a slope of 4 and a y-intercept of 5. So on this one, they're giving me the slope and they're giving me the y-intercept. So I can use my slope-intercept form just to write it. I don't have to calculate anything. I can just go ahead and write it. So the equation here, the slope 4 means m equals 4. The y-intercept 5 means that b is equal to 5. So this is my equation, y is equal to mx plus b. So I can just write it out. Y is equal to 4x plus 5. Okay, straightforward. And again, for all of you students, again, that are here listening to us, if you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand or just open your mic and go ahead and ask. Okay, if you need me to slow down, because I do speak a little bit fast, go ahead and ask, okay? And I'll go ahead and answer any questions you may have. All right, so let's look at the second example. It says write the equation of the line with a slope of -2 and passes through the point 0, -4. Oh, excellent. This allows me to use that second form of lines that we have. It's called the point slope formula or form. So what we want to do is we were going to want to um, first find out what they're giving. Again, they're giving us a slope, so m is equal to -2, and they're giving me a point, um, which if now that I'm looking at it, I don't have to use my point slope formula because the point that they're giving me is the y-intercept. The x is equal to 0 and y is equal to -4. So technically, to make my life easier, let me use again my slope-intercept form. Because my b value is going to be -4, even though they gave it to me as a point, right? So I'm going to use this formula again. The y is equal to mx plus b. So just plug in what I have. My m is -2. And again, because I realized that this point was a y-intercept, then my b is that -4. So here's my equation. Y is equal to -2x minus 4. All right, let's see if we have one where, oh, perfect. This one's going to allow me to use my formula that I was just talking to you about as far as slope. So on this particular one, it says write the equation of the line that passes through the points 1, -3, and 0, 4. So with any of the formulas, right, we need our slope. So let's go ahead and calculate our slope. So we are not given the slope, but we are given again the y-intercept on the second point because x is equal to 0. We know that our y-intercept is going to be 4, right? So that's given, but we need to find our slope. So again, here's the equation written out. So one thing you need to know, okay, when you're using this formula, again, I said that we needed 2 points, point 1 and point 2. If we're using point 1 refers to the x1, y1. If we're using point 2 would be referred to as the point x2, y2. Now, it doesn't matter which one you pick to be point 1 and point 2, okay? One of the things I tell students, think about it this way, okay? If you walk from your house to school, okay, and you walk the same way that you came to school from school back home, the distance is not going to change. It's the same path. So the same thing with these points. It doesn't matter which one you want your starting point to be, whether it's going or coming, it's still the same distance. So don't worry about which one is point 1 or point 2. Either one works perfectly. Okay, so on this one, again, if we're looking at this, we chose this one, 1, -3, to be my point 1. So again, this one that would be my x1, y1. This one's point 2, so this would be my x2, y2. And then I just plug it into my formula. 4 minus a minus 3 and over 0 minus 1. So a negative with a negative is a positive. So 4 plus 3 is 7. 0 minus 1 is a minus 1. So we have a minus 1. So 7 divided by a -1 gives me a -7. So that is my slope. Again, I already have my y-intercept, which is 4. So b is equal to 4. So then now I plug it into my equation. Y is equal to -7x plus 4. All right, let's look at another example. Um, let's look at this one, okay? Write the equation on the line that passes through the points 2, 0, negative 1, 4. Now, they are giving me the x-intercept on this problem, but I won't be able to use the x-intercept because if the equation says it has to be the y-intercept. So first, let's go ahead and do what we know how to do. We need to find the slope. They're not giving us a slope, so let's go ahead and find it. Again, I chose this one just for explanation purposes. This is my point 1. This is my point 2. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in those values. Oops, did I go one too much? So when I plugged in those values, I don't have the work. So let's go ahead and do it. So let me grab my pen. Okay, so here, again, this is y2, so y2 is 4 minus y1, which is 2, divided by my x2, which is a negative 1, minus my x1, which is 2. So here, 4 minus 2 is 2. A negative 1 minus a negative 2 is a negative 3. So my slope here is a negative 2/3. Okay? So this is my slope. I have my m now, but I don't have my y-intercept. So what I can do...
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Is because you wrote 4 minus 2 is it isn't 4 minus 0?
So thank you. Appreciate that. See, um, I was testing you guys to see if you were paying attention to me. So someone is paying attention to me. So let me go ahead and um, do my eraser here. So this y2 was 4. I did pick that one right, but my y1 value is 0. Here we go. 0. Here we go. So we have 4 minus 0 is 4. And then this still, let's double check. Y2 is negative 1. X1 is 2. So we have a negative 1 minus 2. This is a negative 3. So let me erase this value over here. So the value is still negative, but it's 4/3. So this is our slope. Our slope m is negative 4/3. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and so we can practice that other form of the equation, the point slope, because again, they're not giving us the y-intercept on this one. So the equation that I'm going to want to use is this one. Y minus y1 equals minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, so here again, I can pick any of these 2 points. It doesn't matter which one I pick to be my point of reference. So I'm gonna be nice to myself, and I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna use the 2, 0. Okay, so this is my 2, 0 again. This is the 0 would be my y1, and my x will be my x1. Right? So let's go ahead and plug it in. So we're gonna do y minus my y1 here is 0 equals my slope here is negative 4/3 times x minus my x1 is 2. Now, just because I'm running out of space, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to erase this top part so I can write my answer, okay? So let me go ahead and erase this top part here. right, there we go. All right, so let's go ahead and simplify. Y minus 0, well, that's just going to be the y on the right side, left side, excuse me. And then we're going to distribute this negative 4/3. So negative 4/3 times x is a negative 4/3 x, okay? And the negative with a negative is a positive. And then 4 times 2 is 8. So our final answer is 8/3. So voila, we have our equation given these 2 points, okay? And just a point of reference, the computer, if you're doing the computer work, if you can't leave the problem like this. You have to solve for y. The computer always going to want the answers in that most famous format, the slope-intercept form. The y is equal to mx plus b, okay? So again, thank you for that, catching my error there. All right, so let's look at this example. Write the equation of the line that is parallel to the line y is equal to negative 2x plus 4 and passes through the point negative 3, 4. Okay, so what does this word parallel mean? Parallel means, or parallel lines are lines that don't cross or intersect, right? They run next to each other. So for two lines to be parallel, that means that they have to have the same slope. So um, what we want to do is first graph this line just so you can see it. And let me show you how we can graph this line without having to do point slope or a point by point plotting or by using our y-intercepts. So since this equation is already in slope intercept form, the way I can graph this is by using the two informations or the two things that they're telling me. Okay, the first thing that they're telling me is that this equation has a y-intercept at 4. So I would go to where the y-intercept here is 4, so 0, 4. And then I would use my slope to get the other point in order to draw my line, because basically all I need is 2 points to draw a line. So from my y-intercept, 0, 4, since the slope is negative 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down 2, run 1, because that's what slope is. It's the rise over run, right? So I'm going to go down 2 units, 1 unit to the right, and then my point would be here at at 2, 1. And then I would connect my line, and voila, there's my line. But what I want to do is I want to find another line that goes through this point, 3, negative 4, that is parallel to this one. All right, so let's go and do this. So as I mentioned to you, we have the information to do that. For two lines to be parallel, they have to have the same slope. So my slope that's going to be in common to both is the negative 2. But it has to go through this point, right? So how can we do this? So what we can do is we can use your point slope formula, or you can use the same equation, the slope intercept point to grab the full equation. Set x equals to negative 3, solve for your y, and you're able to get your point. Let me see if we have that on here. So again, the way we did it is using our point slope formula. So this is a better example that it's typed out instead of me writing it. Again, we're using the point that they give us, negative 3, 4. So again, the x1 is a negative 3, the y1 is a positive 4. When we go ahead and simplify, okay, the negative times the negative is a positive, and then we are going to um, distribute the negative 2. So negative 2 times x is a negative 2x. And negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times 3x. The last thing we need to do is move this negative 4 to the other side by adding 4 on both sides. So when we do that, we have a negative 2x minus 6x plus 4. So a negative 6 plus 4 is going to be a negative 2. So there we go. Here is our equation of that parallel line to this given equation. It has the same slope. What's going to differ from the parallel lines is our intercept, right? This one has a 4 intercept, y-intercept, and a negative 2 y-intercept for the one that we just found. Okay. All right. So when we are going to type it now, we can use our tools that we have to go ahead and graph. Now, let's say that we want to find an equation that is perpendicular to the given equation. So it's opposite to the parallel line is what's considered a perpendicular line. Okay, so a perpendicular line is going to cross our given line, and then it's going to form, for those who remember geometry, this little square here that we write in red. It says that we have a right angle, right? So or 90 degrees, right? So here, in order for us to find our perpendicular slope, there is a formula that you want to do, or what you can do is what I tell my students is this. It's the opposite of the slope given. So first, we have a negative 2 as a slope for the given equation, right? So opposite to a negative is a positive number. So our perpendicular slope has to be positive. And then I take the reciprocal of the number. So this number, if I write it as a fraction, is 2 over 1. That's still 2. But the reciprocal, meaning the opposite, that the numerator becomes the denominator and the denominator becomes the numerator, is swapping it, right? It becomes 1 over 2. So the perpendicular slope of this given line is going to be 1/2. Okay? So what I can do to find the equation is the same thing that I did before using my point slope formula, but now I'm using this new slope, this perpendicular slope, the 1/2. But I'm going to use the point that it has to go through, still the negative 3, 4. So again, I'm using my point slope formula, but instead I'm plugging in the 1/2 for my m, which is my slope. Again, I'm going to simplify and then solve for y, which is going to give me here. On here, I had to add 4 on both sides. So I need to add 3/2 with the 4. So in order for us to add fractions, we need to have a common denominator. So I'm going to convert the 4 into a fraction that has a common denominator. So I can do that by um, the steps that I'm skipping here is I converted the 4 into a fraction, 4 over 1. When you divide 4 by 1, it's still 4. But I need a 2, so I multiplied a 2 both to the numerator and to the denominator. So 2 times 4 is the 8. The 2 times 1 is the 2. So that's where I get this 8 over 2 from. So now I can add these two fractions because they have the same denominator. So 3 plus 8 is 11. So my equation is y is equal to 1/2 x plus 11 halves. Okay, so um, this is a brief review of writing equations. Um, Ms. Chuka, Mr. Isazi, do you have anything would you like to add? No. Okay. Again, guys, thank you again for joining us. We would love to see you here every Friday. If you look at your class syllabus, we'll be covering anything that you covered during that week. We'll be going over here during our Happy Math Hour. We hope to see you here. We wish you the best of luck in this coming semester. Hope you all enjoy your math class again. Thank you for joining us. So I'll pass it now to our rest of our presenters.
Thank you, Mr. Carrizales, and thank you for everyone for presenting today. So real quick, a few things is if I've sent you a message and you haven't responded with your ID number, please do so. This session, we're not going to penalize y'all for being late because we know it's a new thing. It's a new thing to come in, and so we want to make sure y'all get credit today. So please respond to my messages with your ID number so that I may sign you in for credit. Now, additionally, a lot of you will be looking for Tejano passports. And so they have posted the Tejano passport link into the chat. See, I'll post it again just in case. And it's going to be a new thing for some of you guys. And so I wanted to go over it a little bit before we let you all go. So let me go ahead and I'll share my screen. All right, Tejano passport and share. So once you click that link that is in the chat, you're going to use your EPC, that link that is in the chat, you're going to use your EPCC email. And then you're going to use your regular EPCC password. Oops, I must have misspelled it. All right. Did I need to refresh? Maybe. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. Resubmit. All right, well, let me start from the beginning then. That might be a little easier. Stop sharing. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to
Okay, so I believe she may be reconnecting. I'll go ahead and share my screen just to kind of share what she wanted to show you guys. Okay, give me just 1 second. Just looking for it here. Okay, so this is where she was. Okay, so once we send you the link, just go ahead and click on it. You're going to sign in with your regular EPCC credentials. Okay, once you click sign in, you'll see this little pop-up bubble, okay? You'll see the actual title, you'll see the time and the date. These points do expire. So once we send the link, do try to do it immediately if you can. Most of the time they'll expire a little bit before midnight, as you see right here, okay? I did already click on this link, so it'll show you if you've already earned these points. If you haven't, then it'll just end here with your name, okay? You can see the events that you've attended, and once you'll have like a full list, you can actually see the full list and you'll see the points here, okay? These points accumulate for the very end of the semesters, and for graduation, I believe you get, it's like a little medallion, like a little pendant, and you can hang it um, on your, oh wait, I'm so sorry, I'm blinking. It doesn't let you log in. You may have to refresh. If you are not receiving anything there even after refreshing, try to use a different browser. If you need the link again, I can go ahead and send it to you. Okay. But yes, the Fort Tejano virtual events, we do send a new link every session, whether it be for Happy Math Hour. We also have a 1 p.m. TVE session, or if you attend any other EPCC event, they will have a different link. Yes. Yes. So with signing in, try to use the first part of your EPCC email. So that will be your username. Okay. If you use your full email, it might not let you. So if you're using your full email, try to use your username and vice versa. And if that does not work, then try another browser. So that is for Tejano virtual events. If you guys have any questions, please let us know. We will be here to help you with anything. If you cannot have, or if you cannot load the link, let us know as well. And then we'll try to see what's going on so that you can receive your points as soon as possible. Okay, but yes, that is the end of our presentation. Thank you, Ms. Chuca, Mr. Carizales, and Mr. Sassi for your presentation. If anybody would like to download anything on this screen, you can click, it's a little arrow going down on the very top right corner while the presentation is on the screen. We do want to remind everybody about the previously recorded sessions, which are available on a YouTube playlist, and this session will be available on that playlist later today. Also linked was a short survey to help us improve our TVE sessions. So please take a few minutes to fill out that survey. And before you all leave, I want to share the TVE sessions that we will have next. At 1 p.m. today, we will have tutoring at your campus, including student parent resource centers. And we will be back with Happy Math Hour next week at 11 a.m., where Math 1314 will evaluate combinations of functions and composite functions, and Math 1324 will cover factoring. So come review different factoring methods with us. Our 1 p.m. session next week will be on time management. Thank you all for coming in today. We hope you all have a lovely weekend. And if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box or your mic. We hope to see everyone again for Happy Math Hour.